People, we're back in Portsmouth, and this week we've got Aimee Dobson of Brand Conscience.
When it pops into my mind, I always think, mum of two, work also at the University of Portsmouth, part of a female-founded business, and I'm a volunteer for a national governing body. I just like helping people. Whenever I say, oh, have you heard of Tchoukball? People sort of say, nope, I don't know what you're talking about. By the time I got to the age of 15, I was put forward for Team GB. Brand Conscience, fundamentally, we try and help break down barriers for businesses to become more sustainable. Whatever consumer product you may have, we've got an impact index for it. We want to be able for people to have that at a glance choice, and I think that's going to help people make more conscious decisions.
Is it not changing the whole culture? Is it not changing how people think?
I think fundamentally, whether it's individually based or company business based, education is key.
Aimee, we made it.
We did it.
And thank you for agreeing to be a guest on the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking.
It's a pleasure. So, cool. Little tradition we got on this show is I don't give you an introduction. I like to just hand it straight over to you. So, who is Aimee Dobson?
Okay, so when it pops into my mind, I always think, primarily, I'm a mum of two. I work also at the University of Portsmouth, have done for many years. I'm part of a female-founded business, and I'm a volunteer for a national governing body of sport. So but I like to keep myself busy and out of trouble, sometimes probably to my own detriment. But yes, I like to help in any ways that I can. But ultimately, mum, full-time job, businesswoman, and volunteer.
Okay, interesting. So you do a lot.
I do, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I always think as well, it's not only me that does a lot. I guess sometimes people think that, yes, that's a lot, but I can't be the only person in the world doing multiple things. Otherwise, nothing would ever get done, would it?
Interesting. Yeah, before we go into that then, why do you think, or why do you do a lot?
I'm very much, I'd probably say, and when I mean to my own detriment sometimes, I probably say yes a bit too often. But I just like helping people. I like exploring new things. I like getting involved in things, and I like helping. If I can be useful in any way, shape or form, then I'll give anything a go. And I am a real give it a go kind of person. Even if it's something that I've never tried before, I will do my best, have a bash at it, and see how we get on from there. And I think that's just my nature, just my character.
Okay, interesting. All right, so cool. Yeah, take us back then. So where's home for you? Where'd you grow up?
So I'm a Portsmouth girl, born and bred. I grew up just around the corner from here, not far. My parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. We come from a naval background. My dad was in the Royal Navy for 35 years, so we have always been local here anyway. My whole family has a very big sort of maritime naval history within the family. Went to school pretty much as far as my parents' house is from here where we are now, probably the same distance the other way as to where I went to senior school. And yeah, I love everything about Portsmouth. You know, it's a great city. I love it in all year round, you know, to have everything so close, to be within the city, but also have the seafront 10 minutes away, or you can be in the countryside 20 minutes driving outside. It's just, I think you sort of cover all bases of everybody's needs of where you need to be. You've got busyness if you want it, you've got calm and tranquility by the sea, and then you've got beautiful green spaces for the countryside not too far away at all.
Strong. No, I hear it. I hear it. I like Portsmouth. It's drawn me back. I get it.
Yeah.
And okay, so you grew up in Portsmouth, naval family.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you grew up, school just down the road. How was school for you then?
Do you know, senior school especially, I mean, I remember bits and bobs from primary school and things like that, but senior school for me was, I absolutely loved it. I had probably the greatest mentor that I could possibly have at school, which was my PE teacher, Jan Norman. She is absolutely legendary to everybody who went to the same school as me. I still see her regularly. I bump into her quite often. And every time I see her, it just fills me with such joy that she was so incredible for me being at senior school. I wasn't in, I'd probably say, any sort of real group of girls, teenage girls growing up. I was just friends with everybody. I was always involved in everything sporty, and I think that's why I sort of gravitated naturally towards Jan. She was the PE teacher in the department. She was the cool, hip PE teacher within the school, and I just had this natural gravitation towards her. And yeah, I was involved in everything. I was netball, I was dance, I was drama, I was, involved in the school competitions of what used to be Rock Challenge, but is now I think they call Dance Live, which is held at the Guildhall, which is like an annual local schools competition. So I was involved in that all the way through. And then I was really lucky at the school that I went to that we had a brand new sport that nobody has ever heard of. Not many people have heard of anyway, every time I mention it, which was on the curriculum, which was Tchoukball. And whenever I say, oh, have you heard of Tchoukball? People sort of say, nope, I don't know what you're talking about. So we had it on our school curriculum. So I learnt to play as part of PE lessons from the age of 11. And then absolutely loved it because I was naturally sporty and involved in all of that. But it was just completely different to anything else I'd ever tried. But so simple, but so great all at the same time. You didn't need stacks of equipment. If you could throw a ball, you could catch a ball. You were pretty much fundamentally the basic skills that you needed. And when you're already involved in sports, be it netball, basketball, cricket, rounders, whatever, you generally have those baseline skills anyway. And I just then I took to it. I took part in any competitions that the school ran. I went to the after school clubs, everything like that. And then by the time I got to the age of 15, I was put forward by my PE teachers at the time to go for Team GB selection. With a couple of friends, school friends of mine, we were put forward for selection for the national team, women's team. And at the age of 15, got selected for the UK Tchoukball team.
No way.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, big question. What is Tchoukball?
So Tchoukball is a fast-paced sport that is probably the easiest way to describe it. It's very similar to handball and a mixture of volleyball, maybe a little bit of basketball type thing in there. Just the main sort of ball-based sports it's very similar to, but it's fast-paced. I mean, it's even changed now, what it is now, to what it was when I was playing, because we used to have 9 people on a squad. Now it's only 7. So little things like that have changed, but fundamentally it is probably one of the best sports I've ever played. Anytime anybody ever mentions it and I say, look, have a look, and I'll show them a YouTube clip or something, they're like, oh my God, that looks really good, because fundamentally it's a simple concept, but it's so fast paced. You can score at either end, so you hit the ball off of a rebounder. Do like a it's called a frame, but it's basically a rebounder of bungee cords.
Okay.
And you rebound the ball off of that, so you shoot the ball off of that against the opposition team. And that's normally set in a semicircle. And if you hit the ball on the floor outside of the semicircle, then you score a point. If the other team's defence is sat on that semicircle and they pick up the ball and they catch your shot, then play continues and they have the ball. You can shoot at either end. There's rules involved in it, but it's fast, it's quick pace, it's easy to join in with. And I just think more and more people should be playing it. It should certainly be higher ranked up than what it is, and more people need to know about it. It's great because it's for everybody. Anybody can play, any ability. Girls and boys play together. It's really inclusive. It's great. And I was so lucky to have that at school.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
No, not many people have. I get that response a lot. I get it a lot.
Wow.
But it's Tchoukball for me has not only been something that I was involved in at senior school, and lucky enough to be involved in, and like I say, to get selected with a couple of school friends of mine for the women's national squad at a very young age and start competing abroad. The first international tournament I went to was in Switzerland, in Geneva, and I was just soon turned 16, so went out to that with my best friend, who is still my best friend now. We were both on the squad together, and with the rest of the team and everything. So yeah, off to Geneva for playing internationally, and we are still the highest ranked female team in Tchoukball UK history. We came second in that World Championships, and that is the highest internationally at Worlds that the Tchoukball UK women's teams have done so far since. So yeah, so no, I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of it. It's how I met my husband. Wow. My husband plays as well and still competes internationally now. And yeah, to have my Tchoukball family, as we all call them, it's a real community. You know, we still have friends that I met playing the sport, and I'm godparents to their children. They're godparents to my children. And like I say, yeah, you know, without it, I wouldn't have met my husband and have the life that I have now with our family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's all down to that school, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, yeah.
That's amazing.
I have a lot to be thankful for Tchoukball, and that's probably why it links in with the fact that I volunteer for the national governing body for Tchoukball UK and help out so much. Like I say, it's a massive community. It's a Tchoukball family, a sporting family. You know that anyone that you've ever played Tchoukball with, if you needed anything, you could call them up, someone would be there. And that's where I think team sports are really important, you know, to have that fundamental baseline of you're all there to support each other, and that team sports is incredible for people. As I said, me growing up, and now even into later life, you know, I was competing in a tournament just a few weeks ago at the Mountbatten Centre. And it's just great. It's just great to see everybody, new people coming into the sport, people that are still there and being involved from the senior leadership team point of view now for the national governing body to try and help propel it further and wider to get more people involved in it is probably why I do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that one. That is cool. Okay, so all right, cool. So I guess we'll dig into that in a second, but just taking us back to your childhood, you said you grew up in a naval family. How was it growing up in a naval family? So
I'm one of three girls. I'm the middle of three girls. And like I say, we grew up locally. We all went to school locally. My dad, grandparents, uncles, cousins, lots of people in the military. Very naval focused, but not just naval focused. My brother-in-law's in the military. Brother-in-laws have been in the military. So yeah, there's always been a massive military-based connection to my whole family, even what I've married into as well. Like there's a military background from my husband's side of the family as well. So it's something that, from a naval point of view for us personally, growing up, I always remember one real fundamental moment, I think, in my childhood was that because I'm born in July, so my birthday is smack bang in the middle of the year, it was very rare that my dad was here for my birthday because I'm right in the middle of the year. And if you were away on board ship, then he would be away for 6 months, 9 months of the year. And that is it. And he would be the other side of the world. So it was very difficult for him to be, because of the timing of it, when the postings happened, 9 times out of 10, it would fall over my birthday being in the summer. And I remember, I think it was my 8th birthday, and I remember being in my mum and dad's living room with all my friends, my cousins and everything, just having a normal sort of, as you did back in the day, at home little birthday party, tea party with the jelly and everything like that. And I just remember turning round and looking out the front window of my mum and dad's living room and seeing my dad walk past. And my dad walked past and he was actually home on my birthday. And that was a rare occasion, like I say, being in the summer. And that is one childhood memory that always sticks out quite a lot for me, was the fact that he was actually home that year for my birthday. Because it was a long time that he'd be away and we'd communicate with him. You know, we didn't have phones then, we didn't have social media, we didn't have FaceTime or anything like that. It was literally writing letters, and you'd wait weeks and weeks and weeks for your dad to receive your letter and updates from you, and vice versa, for him to write back to us and send us pictures of where he's been or what he's doing and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it was tough, but fundamentally you knew that, you know, Dad was away at work, and it's a really important job, and you know, it's so many people within the city go through that. There's probably many people my age and even still now that have got memories of standing at the Square Tower waving away the ship as your dad's going away, or the joyous occasion of being down there and when the ship's coming back in and you're stood there and you're waving at the sailors and everybody on the deck of the ship as they come past to come into port, waving at them as they come home from being away at sea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so your dad was in the Navy. And obviously you became a professional tchoukball athlete, really, in a way. So do you think if you didn't find that sport, you might have gone into the military?
It crossed my mind when you get to that point of leaving school, going to college, what you're going to do and making those decisions. It crossed my mind about doing something still sport fitness related. I'd had the conversation with my dad about maybe being a PTI within the military. And even back then when, and I'm talking 20 years ago, probably wasn't the easiest thing for a female to go in and do that kind of role within the military. So it did cross my mind, but I think it would have been more that route along the PTR, the health and fitness sort of route, than it would have been anything else. And I did go to college and do sports and fitness and everything exercise based, trained, did as many courses as I could alongside my A levels to get industry recognised qualifications alongside so that I could get out into work as soon as I could. And that sort of continued my path down the health and fitness and my interest in sport. Dad's always been a massive rugby fan, so we've always had rugby on at home growing up and things like that. So sport for me just felt a natural career progression for me to go into, and being so highly involved with it at school on all levels. I just thought that was a natural thing for me. But yeah, not so much towards the military after having conversations with Dad and things like that about that. So chose a different route. Still continued with the sport and fitness, but just not from a military point of view.
No, fair enough. Okay, so that was your path. So back to the tchoukball. So you've finished school, and then you said you went into work shortly after, but did you, or did you go to uni? What was your route?
I didn't go to university, so I went to college and did my A levels after senior school. And it's actually quite funny with my already mentioned best friend, Joanne. We went through senior school together, went through college together. She took the uni route, I went to the work route. And it's even now, she says like her job is nothing to do with what she did her degree in. Absolutely nothing to do with that. Whereas I went straight into industry-based health and fitness, job roles, being a fitness instructor. My very, very first job was working at a really private health farm towards Hindhead. So posh, I didn't drive at that point. So that was a case of walking to Fratton Station of the morning, and it would take me 2 hours to get there before work. You'd work your day and then I'd get 2 hours, obviously train journey home. Because I didn't drive then. And then when I started learning to drive and I was still working there, my mum would come and meet me from work, and then I'd practice driving with my L plates on, driving back down the A3 to practice my driving on the way home, just to try and save a bit of time with train journeys and things. But that's all sort of things that you just, that was a great job that I'd been offered first, fresh out of college. And to be working in those sort of facilities, I mean, it was like a Champneys-esque kind of health spa with hundreds and hundreds of pounds a night to stay there and things like that. Amazing facilities, but yeah, it was a lot to be 17, 18 and travelling 2 hours a day on the train either way, because it was just so busy. You know, you're on a train that's heading London bound, so it's chaotic and busy. And then I could only ever get the train into Hazelmere, and then I'd have to get the bus, which was like a village bus, into near my place of work, and that was literally like 1 hour. So if you missed it, you were there just stood waiting for the next one. So I did that for a few years, and then managed to get a job more locally. So that was just like, I thought, this is made. I'm 20 minutes away from home for my next job, which was just, that was crazy. That was crazy in comparison. But and just stayed along the health and fitness route, building up more qualifications, gaining more. I started working in education at Highbury College to begin with, which actually was with my sister-in-law. So my sister-in-law was the manager of the sports facilities at the college, and she offered me a job, and we worked together there for a few years, and then it turned out that I'd managed to get a job at the university doing the same thing at the sports and recreation department at the university.
Wow.
And I've been at the uni ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I don't know if you touched on it there briefly, but cool, you didn't go to uni, but your best friend did.
Mm-hmm.
What was stopping you?
I'm not really sure that anything in particular stopped me. I just didn't really, I don't know, I didn't do any open days or anything like that. I didn't travel around and have a look. I don't think it really even crossed my radar at all. Lots of people I knew were going to uni. It just didn't really cross my radar at all. And obviously, again, maybe more so with my sport playing, it would have proved more difficult for me to compete internationally if I was away at uni, because we would fundamentally have training sessions. Most of the squad when I was playing were either Portsmouth based or sort of Colchester way based. So we would train we would take turns with them coming down to us and us going up to them of weekends and things. And obviously just being further afield would have made that more difficult for me, I think, looking back. It just wasn't really ever on my radar, and for no real particular reason. I managed to secure a job, thought I was quite lucky to get a job straight away, so just followed that path and see where it led me, really.
Oh, wow. Okay, so remember you said in the beginning, first thing, it was you're a mum.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you do a lot of things, so how is it then being a mum and doing loads of things at the same time?
I've always said right from the off, being a mum is the best and hardest job in the world. There is nothing else like it, and I absolutely love everything about it. Yes, it's crazy. Yes, it's hectic. Yes, you're constantly juggling, but that's what you have them for, right? And I wanted to be able to be lucky enough to look after my children and bring them up and have that time with them, to not miss out on things. So when I was first at the university, I was obviously working in the sports facilities, which meant that you were doing shift work. So primarily it's unsociable hours. Everybody that uses a gym knows that it's open early, open late, open at weekends. So that was my life in the beginning. It was, you're working shifts till 11 o'clock at night, you're starting at 6 in the morning, or you're working all day Saturdays, all day Sundays. Mm-hmm. And when we decided to have a family, I was doing that alongside, first of all. And then it just got to the point where I thought I'm constantly, I felt like I had massive FOMO, as they say now. I was missing out on things that my husband would take the children out of a weekend and I wasn't able to join in. And I'm very much like that. I don't like missing out on things at all. So it became apparent that I needed to rethink things. This late nights, early mornings, all day at the weekends just wasn't suiting my family life. Because it's tough, it's really tough. And it's never easy, especially when they're young and, they necessarily might not be sleeping well, and then you've got to still obviously get up and go to work and do the do. But it's everything about it I absolutely adore. I can't pinpoint anything in particular that makes it better on some days than others or anything like that. I knew I always wanted children, and we were lucky to, I've got one of each, So, and the differences that brings with having a boy versus having a girl. And I think because I was lucky that I found my husband quite young, people would say, you know, I was married at 21. You know, that's young. But having known somebody for 5 years before that, that seems like a natural progression really for me. So we're just coming up next year. We'll be celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary. And, you know, our son is 15. Our daughter's soon to be 12. So I wanted to be what would probably now be constituted as a young mum. And I don't think it's anything. You just get on with it. I think because you've got no choice really, in the sense of things happen, you know, whether it's they're poorly or things come up at school or anything like that. You just manage. The juggle and the struggle is real, but you get by and you cope, and ultimately, you know, I chose to have them, and I want to be immersed in everything about it, absolutely everything.
Amazing. No, really, I respect that because, you know, some people, if they do a lot, they wouldn't necessarily want kids, but you're the opposite. You know, you do a lot and you want kids. I hear that, and you want to be involved in everything. I respect it. Yeah. So where did that then take you? So
working in something like at the university in the sports department, obviously the facilities are available for not only students, staff, but also the community. I got to know a lot of people. Like even now, if I walk across campus, I will probably easily see 5, 6, 7, 8 people that I know from all different departments across the university, whether that was the estates department, IS, finance, HR, whatever. Academic staff, anybody, because they all came to the gym where I worked, or they all came to the classes that I taught. So you got to know a broad range of people across the establishment, which again, I'm a people person. I love that. I love, you know, just having a chat with people, finding out about how they're doing and things like that. So it was actually one of the members of staff who then worked in the sports science department at the university, would come to circuits or whatever classes that I would be running. And he actually said to me, approached me, and he said, I've got an option of some work that I need within my department as a technician. How do you fancy giving it a go alongside your job role, alongside your gym hours? And I said, well, I don't really know what that entails, but I'm more than happy to come along. And if you think that it's something that would suit me, then I'll come along and give it a bash type thing. So that's what I did for the best part of 10 months. One of his members of staff was in the Territorial Army, and she was away with the TA. So he had a position that he needed a few hours sort of covering, and asked me if I wanted to do it. So I did. And it was great, like to be immersed in sports science side of things as well with my sport and fitness background. And I just got involved in, fully immersed in the technical role of helping, whether that was research that was taking part from the academics within the department, whether that was external people coming in and using the facilities that we might have, and just everything about it. It just, you know, you were there as a support and as an assistant to anything that might be going on within the department. And I absolutely loved the variation of it and the variety. 1 minute you're helping with maybe some published papers that academics might be researching and writing. The next minute you've got Olympic athletes coming through the door and you're working with them and being introduced to them. And then the next minute somebody says, how do you work this piece of equipment? And it's as simple, you push this button to start and you push that button to stop, and everything in between. So I really loved the variety of it. So I did that for 10 months alongside my then gym role. And then he actually said to me that he had come from across campus as well with a different department in the university. And he said there's a full-time role become available in the psychology department. And I said, well, this would be like a complete career change for me. I've never done anything like this at all before. And he said, I think you'll be great for the job. He said, and I've recommended you to who was his old manager, to go for an interview. So I got offered an interview. went along for the interview, had no idea about anything psychology based, but knew that I'd had this experience of being in the technical role and things that it would involve. And yeah, went for the interview, got offered the position, decided to make the jump, take the career change, because it was more of a 9 till 5 role, but also the big thing for me was that it was term time only. So when you've got small children and you haven't got to have that added stress of worrying about the school holidays and things like that, was just a huge plus for me. And really, I think something that I'd been in the back of my mind thinking about changing, and it just happened to fall into place that the children were young. My son was just about to go to school, and timing just fitted so well. So I did go for the interview, got offered the job, and accepted the term time only role. And to be honest, I haven't looked back. It's been amazing. I still work term time only now because it just fits with life. I get to be off with the children in the holidays. There's no added stress from that point of view, from being a parent, of juggling work and the school holidays and keeping the kids occupied and things like that. So I get to embrace the holidays. We go and plan our days out. There are now things that we've done as day trips every year in the summer holidays or things, because they know that I'm off as well. And it means that I have more time, not only with them, but it's given me the opportunity to do more things alongside as well, which is where the business side of it came in, really.
Yeah, and that's what we'll dive into now. So that's amazing that you've managed to sort of build a life that works on your timing. So yeah, let's go straight into it then. So how did the business side come into play?
So originally, alongside my term time only role, I was running a online community that I just set up Facebook groups off my own back, really, of helping women like me, as I would call it, mums on the run, like mums on the school run, with makeup and skincare tips. So I would do Facebook Lives. Back when Facebook Lives was the big thing, I would do Facebook Lives in the morning, and I would show people skincare tips, makeup tips, easy sort of 5 products, quick face, ready and go, run on the school run type thing. Busy mums that were just like me, that were dashing about here, there and everywhere. And I would do these in the morning whilst I was physically getting ready for the school run. And I just absolutely, again, loved that engagement with it. Even though you feel like you're talking to yourself when you're on a Facebook Live, people would pop up and they would watch and they would comment back, and we'd have a little conversation, and then people would be messaging me and saying, oh my God, I love that, thanks for that tip, it's been great, things like that, just real simple. And then a child would appear in the background and say, got half dressed, and I'd say, go and brush your teeth and things like that. So we did it around our life. And my social media sort of journey that's where that started from. And it was actually a family friend of ours that is a Tchoukball connection. So Carrie Lomas is a Tchoukball connection for me. She's played Tchoukball again internationally. We've known each other for years. She was having some ideas of businesses, different things to start with. And she sort of thought to herself, I need people that are within my own network of who can help me with X, Y, Z jobs. And social media was one. So she rang me. And being as yourself, I don't know if you get the same thing, but being at the top of most people's phone books, I get a lot of pocket dials. You hear the rumbling in the background of somebody who's not meant to ring you, but because you're first on the list, it's dialed your number. So I thought, maybe Carrie's just pocket dialed me. And my husband actually said to me, well, answer the phone. You're not going to know if it's a pocket dial unless you answer the phone. So I answered the phone. It wasn't a pocket dial. It was a genuine request for Carrie to say to me that she had this idea and that she wanted some social media help, and would I be interested in working with her on this project. So this project at the time was something called EYFS Home. So this was an early years based home learning. This all came off the back of lockdown. The minute lockdown happened, and obviously it was completely new, especially first time round, completely new for everybody. The early years stages of children's learning was the one that was not really thought of. I don't want to say forgotten, but not as much thought of, because it was so new to everybody. Nobody knew what homeschooling was going to be like. Nobody had anything set up for Google Classrooms or sending out resources for children's learning to continue whilst the pandemic first kicked off. So this was a resource that she had worked with other people when she needed help social media wise to get it out there, to put it out on across platforms for people to access, especially for the early years stages of education, to give them inspiration and ideas of things that they could still cover basic fundamentals of the curriculum, but in a fun, easily accessible way whilst we were all at home. So that started, we continued that, and that was incredible. Every day there would be activities that people could access that, authors would read their books as a story time activity. There would be activities from a full range of people of, there'd be number day, or there'd be water day, or, everything, activities that people could do with their children at home, whether it was the mums and dads at home, whether it was nanny and granddad looking after the children, whatever it might be, it was easily accessible for anyone, and it was a completely free resource for people to access. So that's where I started with Carrie, with that. And off the basis of that work as well, when lockdown happened, I remember watching the briefing from the Prime Minister on the telly that evening and thinking, I've got 2 kids myself, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to continue in any sort of learning or education for our children when we have no idea what's going on? And again, being that I'd had these other little communities that I'd set up on social media, I set up a group that was called Parents United, Let's Do This Together. And I just sent it out to my own network in the beginning. And I thought it could be a hub, a place where people could go to access, no matter what age group your children were in, no matter what stage at school they were at. They could go into this group, use the search function and look for ideas and inspiration of not even an educational side of things, but even just fun activities to do within the restrictions that we were all living within. And it just went crazy. It just went absolutely crazy. Within a couple of days, I had like 10,000 people in the group. It went absolutely crazy. People were sharing it here, there and everywhere. People were contributing from everywhere, all over the country, sometimes different places in the world. People were contributing with ideas that they'd seen this video online, so they put it in because it's really good, it's really useful. And it just grew and grew and grew, really from nowhere. I literally created it after that evening of the Prime Minister's announcement. And I just thought, well, it's an easy thing for me to do. And it really did go crazy with sharing all these different resources that were in there that you could just pop in and get some ideas, no matter what age your children were. Even now, 4 years down the line, there's probably still 5,500 people in that group. I've kept it open. I've kept it valid for anyone to pop into and use. But yeah, it was just another one of those things that just sort of plucked from nowhere, really. I thought about my own situation and how I was going to get my kids through this really difficult time with not being at school, and also what could I do with them that would help, because we didn't know right at the beginning how long they were even going to be off and how long everything was going to be closed down for. So it's sort of, I tried to help in a small little way that I could.
Okay, so what I'm getting from that is a real opportunist. Like, as soon, because I don't know, prove me say if I'm wrong, but every time that an opportunity has arisen, you're like, you know what, apply your own circumstances and just head straight in. Give it a go.
I am a give it a go kind of gal. I really am, and if it's not something that I'm overly confident or comfortable with, I do always think about, you never know where these things are going to lead to. And honestly, hand on heart, I could say that all of these different opportunities that have arisen for me personally have led me down paths that I would never, 5 years ago, the things that I'm doing now with the business alongside Carrie, which is different from the early years stuff now, But that led to that, and that took another step forward to that. I would never have dreamt 5 years ago that I'd be doing the things that I'm doing now. And I just think sometimes that comes from just saying yes and taking a bit of a leap and learning as you go and absorbing, mentorship, coaching, encouragement, support from outside influences to make you a better person so that you can then hopefully one day do that for other people.
Got it. So where did the idea or concept of brand conscience come from?
So brand conscience is Carrie's baby. It was her idea. Fundamentally, she is the founder and CEO, and then myself and our other teammate Sarah. So Carrie has connections to both of us, but Sarah and I didn't know each other right at the beginning. So obviously my connection with Carrie has been Tchoukball. She's been involved as part of the Tchoukball community for years and years. So that's how I knew her. And then obviously, like I said, we did these projects together that she came to me for a little bit of assistance with. And it just sort of grew from those projects that she said, well, I've got this next one. How do you fancy being involved in this? From also my background with being in higher education at the university, in my new role now with research, education, development, she said that, she needed some people to be researching some things. So that's how I sort of initially slotted in with social media and a research basis. And then Sarah is actually Carrie's sister's best friend. They had kids at the same time, went through the NCT classes together. And Sarah is a copywriter, design, creative. She is our absolute legend at doing all things creative and copyright that we need for the business. So the three of us came together. Like I say, Sarah and I didn't know each other in the beginning, but we naturally gelled, I think, from right from the off. She's my kind of person, and I'd like to think that I'm her kind of person too. And we all just get on so well. It's so lovely to be working with somebody that you have only just met. I mean, obviously, yes, we have known each other years now, but to feel like that right from the off, that you've known them for years and that you're so comfortable working with them has been amazing. And part of I think the three of us founding success with sticking together, working hard through challenges across the time that we've been going, and also pushing forward with different projects and things that we're involved in. So brand conscience fundamentally is our sustainability and ethics-based business that has different sustainable innovations that we try and help break down barriers for businesses to become more sustainable. We know that sustainability is really hard, really tricky, really quite an area, a bit of a minefield to navigate, and we want to help try and break down those barriers and make the sustainability journey for businesses a lot simpler.
Interesting. That's really interesting. So, in your opinion, what is sustainability?
I think sustainability is very hard to narrow down to a certain pinpoint, really, because sustainability covers such a broad range of areas and also across industry. It means different things to different areas of industry, different businesses and things like that. Fundamentally, for us, we want sustainability to be of a benefit to people and the planet. That's primarily why we're doing it. We want these sustainable innovations and solutions that we're trying to come up with to make the world a better place for future generations.
Interesting. So before getting involved in this project, what was your approach on the environment and sustainability? What was your personal approach?
To be fair, in my career already, my job role, I didn't really have any involvement with sustainability or environmental issues at all in my day-to-day job. I think everyone tries to do their bit. Everybody tries to do their best. So I was always involved in the simple things, the day-to-day things that I would like to think most people get involved with. And it wasn't until this opportunity came along that I was able to dive a bit deeper in and see how behaviours can change, see how small things that we can all do make a bigger impact on a larger scale. You know, whether that's, and everybody has their own different choices. Primarily because of where we started with the fashion industry, mine now is more, I'm very mindful of how much I buy. Do I need to buy it new? Can I get something on Vinted? Can I, you know, get it from somewhere else? Can I thrift it from somewhere else? With, again, having children, I will always try, because they grow so quickly all the time. I will always try and pass down their outgrown clothes or anything like that to people that I know that have got kids the same, or you know, boys and girls either way, but that are younger than mine, so that I can then hand that down rather than them just being thrown away. Because as we know, the kids grow so quickly that 9 times out of 10 stuff's still got plenty of life left in it. So it's a lot easier to do that. So yeah, just, I think that's how it started for me, was the small things. And then as this opportunity has grown, it means that I can take a deeper dive into different areas of it and what it means. But I think sustainability as a whole is very, very hard to narrow down to one particular thing. I think we're all aware of things that we need to be doing, from the everyday, but also to the grand scale of, you know, legislation, policy change and things like that needs to be done. And hopefully, you know, people will start taking it seriously and know that there are things that can be done and we should be doing, and we need to ramp up on that.
Interesting. So you say like legislation and everyone doing their little part, but is it not changing a whole culture? Is it not changing how people think?
I think, and that's partly why one of our sustainable innovations is education. So we have a whole branch of the business that is for sustainable and ethical education, whether that's somebody who wants to take part in a course we have an introduction course called an Introduction to Sustainability and Ethics that anyone could do, really. You don't have to be in business to do it. You could just be wanting to find out a little bit more of what you can do and basic knowledge and understanding of what sustainability and ethics is, and how you could then incorporate things that into your everyday life. But also on a grander scale, we have different courses and modules that people can do as businesses to help their sustainable journeys through whatever part of industry they're within. So yeah, it's I think fundamentally, whether it's individually based or company business based, education is key, and understanding more is going to help everybody, really.
I agree. Okay, interesting. So you, as someone who does all of this stuff, is now trying to save the planet as well, right?
Not on my own.
Together. So like, what is the sort of next step for you? Where do you see yourself, or is it just the opportunist?
I would love to see the hard work and graft that we have put into Brand Conscience over the last 5 years really start to take hold and things to change. One of our main, alongside our, like I say, when we have different arms of the business, education being one of them, the heart of our business has been impact assessment. So by our impact assessment tool that we have created, it's very similar to food labelling. It's the easiest way for us to describe it. When you go to the supermarket and you want to get a meal deal or something, and you look at the sandwiches, and whether you're interested in how many calories it's got in it, how much salt content, what's the sugar content, whatever it might be, the nutritional values that are put on packaging for food is very similar concept to what our impact assessment is. So our impact assessment, we measure for sustainability and ethics in 5 key areas, and we have 5 icons that represent those 5 key areas, and we use the traffic light system because it's universally known of red being bad and green being good. So it just makes it easy and accessible for anybody to understand. And there are certain things, like, for example, with the food and the nutrition ones, if you're diabetic, you're going to look at the sugar content. If there are certain areas that you care more about from a personal individual point of view. And it's the same with the sustainability and ethics. If you want to get a new little black dress for an event or something, and you walk into a shop and you see 2 little black dresses that you like equally, they're evenly matched in price, but you look at the label and then you see these measures and you say, well, actually, I'm going to get this one because this one's better for the environment. And it's literally that simple, that quick at a glance, that you would be able to look at it and say, well, I really care about how this company treats their staff, treats their workers. Are they ensuring that there's equal pay and things like that? Then the company kindness one, which is one of our measures, is the one that might stick out more for you. And you may not want to purchase anything that's not agreeing on company kindness. And that's what we want to achieve, is that these impact assessments, whether it's for fashion, whether it's for food, whatever consumer product you may have, we've got an impact index for it. We want to be able for people to have that at a glance choice. And I think that's going to help people make more conscious decisions when they are purchasing things, to go, actually, it's more than just how much it costs or what it looks like. What impact has this had through its production? And what can I do to help in that way? So that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see the brand conscious impact scoring across as many things as we could, and really, really grow that, as well as other parts of the business as well.
Interesting. Well, I'm really excited to see what happens there.
Me too.
And okay, so with the uni job and that's where you focus all of your efforts now. And being the sports person for the Tchoukball. Yeah. Well, and that is fundamentally how my week is made up of, 4 days a week at the uni. And now I'm lucky enough now that I've been able to reduce my hours down at the uni. So Fridays are my business day for sure. So and I love that, because that gives me the real opportunity to get my teeth sunk into the projects that we're working on. Interesting. Well, Aimee, it's been lovely.
Thank you so much.
And it's been a pleasure. I found out about so much.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see what happens next. And yeah.
Stay tuned.
All right, amazing. All right, so welcome to part 2.
Thank you very much.
This is the part where we go out into the public and ask a question about some of the things that you do. So this week we had a question, went out into the streets of Portsmouth, and it was an interesting one. It was an interesting one.
Okay, I'm intrigued to see what the question was.
Do you think the environment is savable?
Savable? Yes, of course, it is savable.
Why?
It's a difficult question.
I know.
If another disease or a virus would come, like for example, what was the COVID-19, the environment saved itself a little bit. So I think if we have another bigger disease, the environment would be saved, because nobody was using cars. Everybody was staying home, so it repaired itself.
So, do you think the environment is actually savable?
We've got to a point with our research that there needs to be drastic change as a planet, not as individual communities, societies, to address the methodologies of not necessarily putting it right, but changing the ways that we live. If we don't, in post-humanism, if we don't address what we actually do, we never improve as a society, as human beings. We'll never solve the problem. So unless we work together, we won't improve our environment, whether that is weather environment, climate environment, the way you and I live. not one person can lead a group, that group can influence. We all need to work together to do that, and having individual states, personalities, not believing that what the general consensus is with evidence. You get those leaders of the world that if they don't support just the narrative, then we can't save the environment. But if we all pull our weight, we all work together, whatever the answer is, we work together, we can solve any problem.
The question there is, do you think the environment is savable?
Yeah, I think so. I think we haven't yet gone past the point of no return, but I think a lot of the news channels like to give fear-mongering titles implying that. But I think it is definitely savable, but I don't think we have enough people in positions of power to be able to stop it at the moment. So I think it's a matter of, well, we're going to wait and see.
Interesting.
I agree with that largely, to be fair. It's a lot of overplayed in media, genuinely trying to get people scared, but it is an issue that needs to be addressed, and it can be addressed. I think at this current point in time, a lot of what has happened can be reversed. So, hot take.
I think it can be, but we're getting to the point where we're about to go to the point of no return. But if we take mostly if we take a lot more of immediate action, then yeah, we can go back. But as we're going now, we're probably going to end up, no point. We can't anymore.
Damn, and?
I think it can be, but there's already a lot of damage that will need to be repaired. So the longer it takes to stop causing more damage, more repair will be needed.
The environment is savable.
Hopefully, maybe, if cows stop farting, but it's never going to happen. So we can hope and pray, but what more can we do? Apart from do it yourself. But other people are stubborn, so...
The environment is savable.
With enough work from the governments, yeah, definitely. That was that big meeting, I can't remember what it was called, it was COP something, back in, 2023. I think there's an effort, but I don't think it's too late just yet.
Do you think the environment is actually savable?
Ooh, that's difficult actually. I'd love to say yes, but we are so far gone, I think, that possibly not, unless somehow in the next couple of years everything was gonna do its thing and, work out, but no.
Do you think the environment is actually savable?
Possibly. I think it very much depends on sort of what governments do and sort of COP19 or COP30 and all that sort of stuff, how all that works out. But yeah, I don't think fully, but I think in certain elements.
Do you think the environment is actually savable?
I hope. If more people contribute into saving the world, then maybe.
Okay.
I feel like we've gone too far.
Yeah.
We've gone way too far, and I feel like our leaders aren't protecting it enough, so I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Well, seeing a broad range of people ask the question there, it is fundamentally the main response was it's not necessarily what the little people can do, it's what people in power can do. And I think that is, from the average Joe on the street, is the consensus that we can all help in our own little ways, but bigger steps need to be taken by people in much bigger shoes than what we are on the ground, so to speak. I get the comment about how the environment sort of repaired itself during lockdown, and how I just thought maybe it was a little bit extreme to be saying maybe we need something else like that. I don't think the world would go with another lockdown. From that point of view, we don't want necessarily another pandemic to come and wipe people away in order for the environment to repair itself. That's not necessarily the best way to go about things. But I think lessons need to be learnt from that. That's what the takeaway should be. What things were reduced in that time because we had no choice, to allow that space, that time for the environment to improve. So, you know, fundamental things that took place because of that situation could be learnt from to help moving forward. But I think the general consensus is that there's still hope. There's still hope. We just got to hope that the people in power do what they need to do. It's what the people on the street are saying.
Yeah. And I think, my question to that is, without getting political, do you think they can? They can make a change. They can actually, make things happen. Do you think they can change a whole nation to actually look at things differently? When everything in lockdown, it got better because people weren't there, and now that they're back, it's all sort of risen again.
I think people were quick to forget as well in all sorts of, not only just environmental side of things to what happened in lockdown, but the whole be kind philosophy that was born out of lockdown about just being kind to yourself, being kind to others. That seems to be forgotten straight away as well, and it seems like everybody just gets set back in their old ways again with all these different things, which is a shame. And I'd like to think that fundamentally these people were put in these positions for a reason. Without getting too deep on a political side of thing, if not them, then who? They're put in these positions for a reason. They need to make a stand, and they need to make these changes for the better for everybody and for future generations to come.
Honestly, I agree. And we can only hope. We can only hope that it happens.
Let's hope so. Yeah. Let's hope that they make a stand and use their positions in the correct way, because it's fundamentally us and future generations that are going to suffer if they don't.
Yeah, because if not who, then I guess it's pointed at the big brands, and that brings us back to brand conscience. But why would big brands stop, selling products when why would they stop selling products? Because they can make money. Why would they stop?
And that is the harsh reality of it, in the sense that why would they? Because it's all profits. But I think that the way in which they are made, it's not necessarily, yes, we need to fundamentally make less as a whole, but also if there's more rules in place for legislation for them to adhere to about how that process is done. There are processes through the whole supply chain that can be better on a sustainable and more ethical way than what they're doing at the minute. But because there's not that legislation to say, you can't do that, you mustn't do this, you have to report this, you should do things this way, whatever that might be, because there's none of that in place at the moment, they just kind of do what they want and see how they go. So I think if fundamentally they can't make, well, they should be able to make huge changes at the top. That's what they're there for. But with these things being in place, it's going to make everybody from brands and any sort of production to have a deeper thought into the impact that it has on the environment as a whole throughout their whole design process. So if they design better, then the things that are being bought are, that backstory is a better thought through process.
Interesting. Yeah, because I'm only thinking on that, if they do make a legislation here on how it's produced, it might only, I could be wrong, could it only not affect the businesses or producing stuff here? What about when they outsource their production to other countries? Is it not cool, if our government does something, what about their government? What about other governments? So I think fundamentally, I think everyone would like to see, whether you are somebody on the street or, yourself or me, we just want to see people making the right decisions for not just us as a small society here in the UK, fundamentally for the human race. And I think it's a so much bigger picture that they all need to be singing off the same hymn sheet, really. Yeah, I mean, that kind of brings us to a lovely close. Any final comments?
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a ball. Thank you so much. And here's hoping to see where things go. And you never know, there might be an update down the road one day.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Well, no, thank you again, Aimee, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Thanks so much, Alec. Thank you.
Amazing. Stay tuned.